Hi, good morning, everyone. Thank you, Tina, so much for that beautiful intro. And thank you to all of you for being here and holding space for this story. Before I jump in, I just want to take a moment to acknowledge the Lenape Nation as the indigenous people to whom this land we all now know as New York belongs. And there will be some resources in the chat should you be interested in learning more. So I grew up a pretty happy kid, a kid who felt fairly sure of themselves. I was an only child born in a small city in Ontario on the 29th of May. I'm a Gemini, the year of the sheep. I prefer art class over gym any day, hated piano lessons on Thursdays, and I love putting ketchup on pretty much everything. But I picked out those little flakes of cilantro in the chichong fun every Sunday at dim sum. My biggest strength, making a killer poster board for class projects, and knowing the theme song to Arthur on key and on cue. My biggest weakness, picking at dried up rollerblading scabs. I knew the way that my mom curled her hair with rollers and how to do mine just like hers. I knew that she was born in the Philippines and went to a Catholic school with nuns. I knew my dad was born in Malaysia, that his job involved designing buildings and bridges, and that I could probably have one of the donuts in his office kitchen if he had to pick me up early from school that day. I knew my grandparents were from China, that my Chinese name was Huang Jialing, that my parents called me Ling for short, that it was good luck to hold oranges and eat noodles on Chinese New Year, that the number 4 was generally bad luck, and the number 8 was generally good. When I was 9, I started feeling a lot less sure. I noticed the other kids in my 4th grade class wrinkle up their noses at my lunch that reeked of salty pork and 5-spice. They pulled the corners of their eyes back and sang, "Chinese, Chinese, dirty knees, money please." I begged my mom for salami sandwiches and fruit roll-ups. I dragged my feet to Chinese school, cringing at the thought of learning these sounds and syllables that felt as foreign in my mouth as my name did in my teachers when they called roll. I learned to laugh along with the other kids who sang wee 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 during recess. I dumped my lunch in the trash and I cried in the bathroom stall. And I stopped going to Chinese school. I started to think, what if I could style my hair a different way, wear the right clothes, eat the right foods, shorten my name to something people could actually pronounce, and then maybe I could forget those parts of myself that didn't feel like they fit who I wanted to be. Of course, when I got to high school, everything changed. My dad got a job in Michigan, so we packed our bags, drove across the Detroit River, and built our home in the land of opportunity, which for 14-year-olds, of course, meant a chance to rebrand. And with 6,000 kids at my new high school, I realized it wasn't only cool to be different now, it was expected. It was exotic. When I saw that my high school had an Asian Pacific American club, I was like, yes, this is my chance. I have found my crowd, somewhere where people looked more like me, somewhere I could belong. But I was wrong. I didn't really feel like I fit in here either. Over the years, I had somehow managed to erase these parts of myself that I thought I knew and loved the best. And in trying to fit in everywhere, anywhere, I ended up fitting in nowhere. I didn't really understand. How could I not feel Chinese when I was Chinese? My white friends always teased me for being so Asian. Yet I found myself standing in the middle of Chinatown, surrounded by nostalgia of sights and smells and sounds that felt like home, but shaking my head in shame when a local walked up to me, asked me something in a language I didn't understand, and I never feel more lost. Was I as Malaysian as my dad? As Filipino as my mom? Was I still Canadian even, or maybe I was more American at this point? When I fill out a form that says, please check your ethnicity, what do I check before clicking next, and what am I supposed to leave behind? For 29 years, I have been trying to figure out the answers to these questions. And for the longest time, I thought there was only one answer. It wasn't until the summer of 2019 that I realized maybe I don't have to answer any of these questions. I had heard about this all-day summit hosted by a collective called The Cosmos. The Cosmos is a community created by and for Asian American women. It has chapters all across the country and a membership base ranging from college students to parents to doctors to CEOs. And though I never expected that 9 hours in a Bushwick warehouse would change my life, they did. For the first time ever, I was in a room filled with people asking all of these same questions, and fearlessly. They were first, second, third generation. They were, I don't really know what generation, and I don't really care. They were gay, straight, queer, bi. They were teachers and writers and entrepreneurs and activists. Suddenly, everything I knew to be taboo in the Asian community, from discussing mental health to having a career in the arts, was fair game. In fact, it was welcomed. We cried happy tears in between shedding heartfelt ones. We swapped secrets in moments when the world told us we weren't Asian enough or white enough because of how we looked, didn't look, spoke, ate, acted. We confessed these stories in times when we wanted to speak up against what we knew was wrong, but were silenced by cultures that prized compliance. I had never met any of these people, and yet I felt like I had known them all my life. That day, I realized maybe I didn't have to choose a single identity or feel burdened from having too many. I felt like I could and should be proud of them all. That summer, I not only discovered the incredible power of finding your community, but I also learned to start asking myself a new question. What kind of life could I lead if I chose to embrace every part of myself? These days, I try to remember that to take up space I've always owed to myself and to my family, even if it makes people a little uncomfortable. Because people are always going to tell me that I can only exist in certain spaces and only in certain ways. I have to remember that in order to live a full life, my fullest life, I need to create that space for myself. And while certain parts of my identity may at times feel challenging or limiting, I will always hold the power to defy those limitations. So what's holding me back?